Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. So hi, Joe and Sheila, how are you?
Hi, we're great. It's so great to be here with you.
Hello, Laura.
Hi. So why don't we just jump right into your story and you just tell us where you're currently living.
All righty. Well, we're currently living south of Detroit, about 40 minutes in a suburb, and we love it. It's kind of out in a more rural area, and with beautiful Huron River nearby, and we're also close to Lake Erie, and just enjoying all the beauty of the surroundings here in Michigan, and there's so much to do too. And I am originally from eastern Kentucky, over near Pikeville. That's the nearest big city, and more specifically near Belfry and Turkey Creek. And I only mention that because that area is well known for the Hatfield-McCoy feud.
Oh.
And so, well, I've been in Michigan since about 1980, and then I'll let Joe tell you a little bit more about where he's from.
Well, I was also born in the southwest Detroit, and grew up there. Went to high school in Southern California in Buena Park, then moved back here. Where we are right now, we're 20 minutes away from Ohio, 20 minutes away from Ann Arbor, 20 minutes away from Windsor, Canada, and Lake Erie and everything, and we're in a beautiful spot right here. And the weather, we watch on the news how all of these disastrous weather events happen, and we're sitting here in the calm sunlight, and it's been like that all season. So we feel really fortunate and blessed to be right in the spot we're at right now.
So you don't get the lake effect winters?
We have not had that for a number of years.
Well, you know, I'll say this. My brother lives about an hour north of us, and he gets a lot more snow than we do. And we're not that, I guess every little area has its own sub-climate and all that, but we're just enjoying it for now. Of course, as soon as I say that, next winter will be a knockout.
Yeah, we better not talk about this too much.
I'm going to knock on wood here.
We're also very fortunate to live in what I would call, it's not official, but a little bird sanctuary. We're right across the street from a pond. The pond is our front yard, and we can sit out on our porch and count the birds, and they're within a half an hour we've counted 24, 25 different species of birds that fly over or land in our yard. We have nests in the trees out there. It's just a beautiful thing. We love it. We've got two little mourning doves that are parked up on our rooftop, and they wake us up in the morning and put us to sleep at night.
But, you know, I think, and this will probably tie into something else you're going to ask us, but living in this area where we do, and it's very peaceful and calm, and it helps us with our creativity and with, you know, some of the things that we're doing. So maybe we'll get stuck for a minute. We'll go outside and just sit by the pond and watch the birds, and then, you know, you get more inspiration if you can just quiet down for a few minutes and then come back in and, you know, write some more or rehearse some more or record some more, because, you know, it's work. It's work too.
Oh, absolutely.
Just sit and work on a computer all day or be in a recording studio. It's just very nice to be able to get out and fresh air and nature a little bit, and I think that helps us.
we're sitting in our recording studio right now. We've got an 8-track digital recorder and a couple of nice microphones, and I've got a selection of about 15 guitars sitting here right to my left. And
so we'll invite you all in, and I don't know where we'll
that's right. You can sing harmony with us or something. Right. By the way, I think you did a great job at the Wood Songs Renfro Valley gathering.
On your song, it was so beautiful.
It was, and I was jealous because I finally decided to say yes, we're going to back it up. And then you already got someone else, so I was disappointed about that.
You lose.
Oh my goodness!
Song is so beautiful, Laura, and we'll probably get to that a little bit later. But I hope it gets out there, and a lot of people are blessed to hear it because it really touched our hearts.
I can tell you, I have a whole story I'm doing about that because in a short, I got up there and went, "That doesn't even sound like me. I've never sounded like that." It was like a different voice came out of my mouth, and I won't belabor it, but I was like, oh my word, what just happened? So anyway.
That's how I feel every time we go out. I cannot understand why anybody would want to hear me sing. Honest to God, I don't understand that.
Well, that's the point, is that I met you some time back, and you're a duo in music, and I love your music, and I am so excited to get into your story about how that all came to be. Among other things, you're singer-songwriters, and how would you describe your genre? It's kind of folk. It's definitely original. You do all original music, correct?
Correct.
Well, we've said this in other interviews, so I'll say it again because for your audience, is that we're inspired, I think, more, not so much by other people's music as we are just through our experiences in our life. I see that as music, as art, and as we absorb it and we bring it to us. What do they call that? The law of attraction or whatever. And so we've often said that to avoid any certain genre, because that's more like a political party or something. Some people, if you say you're a folk singer, oh, I don't like folk music. Or if you say you're a country singer, oh, I love that. That's not a healthy way to describe yourself, I don't think, not in our case anyway. I would say, as we've said so many times, our music tends to be timeless. It could come from any generation and any country in the world. Timeless and universal is what we hope it is.
But to describe it in a nutshell to people who haven't heard us before, we've been nominated for several awards in multiple categories, including country, folk, Americana, and we have
world music,
and we have these influences from a lifetime of working in music, everything from bluegrass to opera. So you're going to hear some of those influences in what we create and produce.
Yeah.
So I think it's eclectic. We draw from a lot of different inspirations and resources while telling these stories. So I think possibly we're more storytellers in song.
I was going to say that.
What Joe is saying. Mm-hmm.
We could be called storytellers, and at the same time, if you just read the words as poetry, they're not really about one song is not necessarily about a certain thing. One verse might be about something, and the second verse might be something totally unrelated. even line to line, it can be like that. We've got a song called Soldiers in the Army of Mercy and Peace. It's about 6 minutes long. It's on our first record. And it goes through a dreamscape of different events and different scenarios. That's the way we like to write. I think that works for us.
So you record in your home studio. Is that the way you always do, or have you sometimes gone to another studio and is it just you? Primarily it's just you, or do you have other people do other parts of instruments or anything like that?
Our first CD was recorded, we started recording it in Ohio. We ended up recording it in Royal Oak. We sent it out and had it mastered by Dusty Wakeman, and he does the mastering and works with Lucinda Williams and
Buddy Miller
and Dwight Yoakam, and people like that. And then we sent it,
Jim Lauderdale.
Oh yeah, and then we sent it out and had it mastered by Pete Dell with Universal Studios. We did bring in some people that we know that were excellent musicians, and we got them in the studio to do some of the instrumental accompaniments, but we largely did it ourselves. And then, so that first CD, as it probably is for any artist, there's a learning curve to all of this, and we learned so much on that. And then as time went on, now we've always had our own recording equipment in our own home studio, because it's just good to do that, to lay down your tracks and get some idea of how it's going to mix and balance and sound and experiment, and that's where you practice. And then, so for our next CD, we haven't quite decided yet if we will do that in our home studio or go out and shop another studio. We're kind of on the fence about that. There are pros and cons to that. It's so great to have your own home studio and be able to work at your own pace, or stay up all night if you're in the groove, and not have to make an appointment and drive for an hour and try to do that, and then be vocally warmed up and instrumentally warmed up and be ready to go. And it costs quite a lot too. It's quite expensive for independent artists to go in and do those projects, and so it's a labor of love.
Our first record is 8 years old now, so we have an outrageous amount of material, numbers of songs that we've written since then that are we're seriously considering a double record, double album for our next record, because there's just so much. And I think that's what we're going to do. Right now, we're in the process of recording the demos and working them out, make them sound good, because invariably a song that you might write it today, next month it's going to sound different. Every time you play it, it's going to progress a little bit. So we're in the process of just pushing these songs along to get them ready for release. We've got, by the way, we just released 4 live versions of a couple of those songs that are going to be on the next record, and they're released on all the platforms. You can hear them, you can buy them, you do whatever you want to with them, but they're on all the major platforms. So we're pretty happy about that. And one of them's called Nashville Rain, and it's up for Song of the Year for the International Singer-Songwriter Association. So we're pretty happy about that one. And
well, tell us, while we're talking about awards, you have a long list of accomplishments. So what other things have come your way as far as your music?
What? I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
Other awards.
I do that once in a while.
My sister gets him. She says he's wool gathering. But
Other awards.
awards, you know, there are many different professional award organizations that are out there for independent artists, and we love and respect and appreciate all of them. But the one that comes to mind immediately is it's called ISSA, International Singer-Songwriter Association.
Right.
And they have an awards program in near Atlanta, Georgia, every August. And so last year we won Vocal Duo of the Year. And also in 2020. Now, in 2020 they didn't have their program because we were all in the midst of the COVID crisis going on. But so we've been very blessed with them, and we've won some global music awards. We've won multiple international awards for some of our songs, and we feel very blessed. And I've heard someone say recently, I've actually heard many people say that, you know, big deal. It's like some of these are self-nominated, some of these are other artists nominate a group. And what happens though in these particular organizations is that yes, your peers get to vote. We all get to vote for each other in all these different genres. And then it goes before a panel of judges for 2 months. And they vote. They do the final vote. And so they do have strict rules, and I feel like it is credible. And what is the good of it? I'll tell you what the good of it is. One, it's good to join a fellow artist and be in a working organization that does strive to promote independent artists. It's very difficult as an independent artist to get the bookings. So when we win awards or get nominated, we usually are in the top 5, and we've been very blessed about that. So what that does is kind of like having a resume. So it's a resume builder. So when you put your proposals together to submit for different festivals or concerts or events, you can say, well, I got this, 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 and this. So it's kind of a door opener after all. It does help to give you that little stamp of credibility to say, well, these people think that what we do is worthy. And so that makes you feel good. I've said before, it's a blessing, but it's an honor, and it's not an ego thing. It's not like, oh, look at me, I won another award. No, it's like we hear you, we see you, we understand what you're doing, and we appreciate that. So we generously give support to other artists, and we truly treasure it when it comes back in our direction.
And it's also a recognition of the music itself. Take us personally right out of the picture and look at the song, look at the work that we've done, and to muddle through 50,000 nominees and get to the finals of 5 people, and then fortunate enough to bring home one of those. That I say it's better to have one than not to have one. That's how I look at it. Good way of looking at
it. That is a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So, and then you play out at events, and I'm sure that helps to get bookings and invites. So
sometimes it doesn't. I'll give you an example of one time it didn't.
Okay.
I'm in contact with the owner of Tootsie's world famous Orchid Lounge down in Nashville, and I'm talking to him, and I said, well, we won the Detroit Music Award, we did the blah 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 blah. He goes, look, I don't want to hear about all the awards you won. I want to hear what you sound like. And so I sent him a tape. He said, okay. You come on down, you can play at Tootsie's. And we did. It was a riot.
It was a blast. We wrote a song out of, I'm sorry, go ahead. We wrote a song out of that called Nashville Rain because Joe had to leave me at the door and go park the car. Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville, but Tootsie's is right across the street from the old Ryman Auditorium. So you got to park way down the street and up a hill and walk about 3 blocks. Well, what happened was there was this like thundercloud burst, and he's walking all the way back on his crutches in pouring rain. It was raining so hard that
Blinding rain.
When he got back to me and all the equipment, so I was already had everything set up on stage, he was drenching wet. He was drenching wet to the point that I was afraid we were going to get electrocuted on stage.
It looked like I went swimming in my clothes, honest to God.
But we did it. We did it. We kept our commitment.
We did.
No,
And
we
you know,
did.
unless you're Willie Nelson, you park your own car. You know?
Yeah, we don't have roadies and we don't have all that help yet.
So he definitely left you with all the equipment, right?
Yeah, so then he wrote this song called Nashville Rain, you know, and it happened to be the year that they got some floods.
Yeah.
Some big flooding going on. So, yeah, we were there in the midst of that. It's a real thing.
And that's the song that's right now, as we speak, nominated for Song of the Year.
Oh,
Believe it or not.
well, maybe a lot of people could relate to that.
Yeah.
They might have been there that night.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll have to write another one called Detroit Snow.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No more.
No.
That's enough weather. Enough bad weather.
Yeah. So how long have you guys been together singing as a duo?
You know, I guess we're going on our 11th year, and but people always ask how we met. We've both been musicians all our lives, so don't ask how many years that is. It's a lot.
Not very many. We're young.
So
We just look old.
we're very young at heart, anyways.
I do.
So anyhow, about 10, 11 years ago, we bumped into each other. We first met at it was a fundraiser for a friend of ours who was going through a real health challenge. So several musicians came together, put on, you know, one of those all-day event fundraisers, raffles, and all that. And we heard each other, and you know, we became Facebook friends for like the next year. Then we bumped into each other again at another fundraising event for Henry Ford Community College in Dearborn, and Joe pulled out a song he'd written the night before, and he invited me to join him. And I said, wait a minute, let me get my drum. And we sang that song together like we'd been singing together for 30 years. It just clicked. And so then we started working together for a couple of years, and then eventually we became a couple. And we were so passionate about the music, and we have so much in common. Oh, and one of the first things he said, he pulled out a song called Grandpa Was a Coal Miner. He said, my grandpa was a coal miner, and I said, really? Mine too. You know, so then we found out our mothers are from Kentucky. Both our fathers, his father had been born in West Virginia, and my parents lived very close to that Kentucky-West Virginia border. So we ended up having so many things in common, and I think that also tied into our songwriting and storytelling. So we were able to understand that and paint that picture in song and lyrics for other people, you know, and it's a rich heritage that touches upon a lot of things that people have in common. It doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody understands hard work. Everybody understands hardships. Everybody understands about faith and overcoming in some way, shape, or form, no matter where you're from. So something just clicked for us, and we're very grateful.
A couple of things that are really special about our work together is, number one, our voices blend really well, as if we were related. And number two is, I've never really been able to co-write with others. I wrote songs when I was in a rock and roll band with my brother, and he passed away in 2018. And the only two people I've ever been able to co-write with is my brother and Sheila. So that's really special to me. If I start a song, even just sitting right here in this chair, play a couple of chords, and I'll holler. I'll say, Sheila, come here a minute. She said, I'm busy. And I said, just get in here for a second. Listen to this.
There we go.
And boom. A song just comes out somehow. And that's a real gift.
I am
rare.
very envious of that process because it's never been easy for me. And I certainly don't have the background or any of that, but for people that can do that and songwriting, I think it's just amazing, and it's a wonderful gift to have. And so you both knew you were from Kentucky, and then you were both in Michigan.
Actually, Joe was born in Southwest Detroit.
My parents
but his
were
parents
born.
were from Kentucky and West Virginia.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and I just started taking him down home to visit. I visit Eastern Kentucky like 2 to 4 to 6 times a year. Well, especially when my mother was still living. And another thing, it's kind of a sad thing that we have in common. Both of our mothers had Alzheimer's, and all the way down to the end stages of that. So there is a whole unspoken volume of understanding that and compassion that comes with that. And so I began taking Joe with me down to Kentucky to visit, and we do some concerts and visit family. And so again, we're both from musical families too. I should mention that. So I think that makes a big difference when you're growing up with it and you have that family harmony all around you. And then so when Joe and I connected, it was almost like, oh my goodness, we're home again. We can do this again. And we can do this together and enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work and a little bit of frustration, but it's a lot of fun.
The reward is the fun and just doing it together. That's really set aside any money, any awards or anything else, and just the fact that we get in the car, we drive down to Renfro Valley or anywhere it might be, and get that done and meet all the wonderful people that we do meet. Not everybody is wonderful, but a lot of them are, and so that's the real that's the payoff really for us.
Well, let's talk about your poetry and Joe, you're a poet laureate. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, that was a surprise, actually. We got an email from it, from the Beat Poetry Foundation, something like that, and it said that will you accept the assignment of a Beat Poet Laureate for Michigan? This happened almost exactly 1 year ago, and I looked at it. I was checking my email again. I didn't believe it. And here I called Sheila. Will you read this to me? Make sure I'm looking at this thing right. And she said, "Yeah,
it's not spam. It's not a bot."
Yeah, is this spam? What's going on? So anyway, I had written a book. I wrote a book called The Invisible Waterhole, and it was released or published in 2020. 3 years ago yesterday, it was published on May 31st, Walt Whitman's birthday. I wanted it published on my birthday, which is May 7th, but they couldn't get it out, so Walt Whitman was a second choice, and that worked out just fine.
There you go.
And so that, and then we said, yeah. So what did we do? We turned that into a leg of the tour, and we toured Montreal, Boston, Connecticut, Massachusetts. We ended up playing in a number of places while I went over there to receive the plaque for that, and that lasts for 2 years. The Poet Laureate assignment lasts for 2 years, and then today is the anniversary, the 6th anniversary of being inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with my band that was out in the 70s and 80s. the white lines. And so it's been a couple of pretty momentous, memorable days for us here last couple of days.
I didn't know you had a book out, so thank you for sharing that. So what are some of your current projects?
We're both writing. I've been working on a series of children's books to publish. I'm doing poetry also. Joe has enough material for his second book. We want to work really hard and get these things published within the next month or so. And we're continuing to work on our music for the next CD, which will probably be a double album. Meanwhile, we've been on tour also. We just got back from a 2-week tour. We went down to St. Augustine Poet Fest, and Joe, we were the keynote speaker there and performing. And then we went on a little short cruise. We went over to Jamaica and played some music there. And then we kind of worked our way back from Florida to Tennessee, Kentucky, came back, went down to Lexington and Renfro Valley for the Song Farmers, the Wood Songs Gathering. And that was amazing.
That was so amazing just to be at the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame. You know, I would have swept the floor there. Whatever they asked me to do, I would have done.
Definitely worth it.
It's such a supportive environment. That's what I have,
and
you know,
so many
they're
great artists together for a couple of days. That was truly worth it. We're actually, we go to some of these songwriter festivals. Last year we went to Gatlinburg Singer-Songwriter Festival and Muscle Shoals. And we may touch in on those again, and we'll have the thing coming up in Atlanta again for the ISSA.
We're going to be in. We're going to be doing the 10th and final Gonzo Fest, which is in Louisville for Hunter S. Thompson. It's a memorial for him, put on by Ron Whitehead and a couple others. And during that trip, we're going to mosey over to Nashville. We've got a date to play in Nashville there. Yeah. And
and then at the end of August, in the Labor Day weekend, we're heading back out east again to Connecticut and putting together a tour for the East Coast again, New England. So we're still working on that, and it's a lot to keep up with. But we've got a trip or two a month. But, we just feel like it's kind of like planting a garden. You plant your seeds and see what comes up, and then you have to tend to that and cultivate it and reap a good harvest. So we're juggling a lot of things right now, but we're very happy and busy.
This podcast is called Bloom Where You're Planted, and I always ask people what that means to them.
You go first. Well,
I think that is a liberating statement. Actually, I don't think it's. I think we're planted in this universe, and I think that we can bloom right there. And as big as the universe is, that's how big our flower may grow. We're here to make an impact and to leave it better than it was when we got here. And that's when I first heard that, and I just heard that this morning. Sheila said, well, she gave us 3 things to answer. I go, what?
There's an assignment? What? You didn't tell me about homework.
I didn't get, we were busy. I didn't get a lot of time to put forth a great philosophy on that, but that's how I feel. That's, for me, I don't feel any limitations at all with about being planted somewhere. I feel like we're all wild, and we can just grow wherever our seed might land. That's all.
So Sheila, what does that mean to you?
Well, I had a little bit different take on that, bloom where you're planted. You know, this is a time of year when we've got a lot of kids graduating high school, and everybody pops the question, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do? What are you going to college, trade school? What are you doing? And, you know, back in the day when that happened to me, the thing that I ended up doing later on as a career had not even yet been invented. It was a little thing called the World Wide Web and web design. It's like, so don't feel too badly if you feel bewildered and don't really know what you want to be when you grow up. Just keep growing, and I think that's the secret. And be open to discover new things, because one thing will lead to another. So that's what I think of when I think about blooming where you're planted. And just keep an open mind and continue to learn and grow and be happy. You know, find things that inspire you and bring you some joy. And you'd be amazed where that will lead.
Well,
I'm
before
amazed where it led me. Look at this right here.
Well, it's been wonderful having you as guest. And why don't we end on some advice that you would give someone that has done or something that they might want to do that you've done or currently doing? What would you advise them?
You go first.
Well, I'm not a physician or a psychologist or anything like that, but what I would tell them to do is what I've done myself, is never give up. We learned that from the Dalai Lama. And
I would say pursue your joy. Pursue those things that bring you joy, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. And it, you know, back to that thing where maybe we're a little old-fashioned, but try to leave the world a little bit better place than you found it. But to actually, and it may take some time, and don't be discouraged and don't be afraid of that, but pursue those things that bring you a feeling of meaning and purpose. If you have a sense of meaning and purpose, and it may be the mundane things in life, it doesn't have to be anything big and fancy, and then again it may be, but to just be open to where that might lead you, but to pursue that, what brings you joy. And that's not a frivolous thing, that's like a deep down in your soul kind of joy that I'm talking about, because if you enjoy it enough, you'll stay with it. So that's the next secret, is persistence, hard work, never give up, and stay with it. And just keep an open mind, because you never know what door might open tomorrow. Maybe today feels like you're stuck, but one thing leads to another, and then it's kind of a happy surprise, you know, when it comes together.
And I would add to that, I would say, to anyone, remember this. Remember, we come to this world alone. We're going to we're going to leave it alone by ourselves. Don't spend a lot of time and energy relying on a response from somebody else. Right. Follow your heart. Do what you believe in. Don't try to make an impression on nobody. Don't follow the crowd. Don't seek the status quo. Bob Dylan said it better than I could ever say it. He said, "Go where they are not," and that's what we do. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful having you as a guest, and we're going to end on those wonderful words of advice. So thank you again, and I'm sure that we will catch up together another time.
Yeah, we will next weekend.
Yes.
We look forward to it. Thank you for everything, and thank you to all of our listeners today.
Thank you, Laura.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Laura.
Peace on earth.
Peace. Bye-bye. So as our time comes to a close, remember to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep supporting each other. And remember to bloom where you're planted. Bye for now.